from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Ooh, welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yonks. We are the embattled broadcast that explores the past to remain in the present, to dictate the terms of our future. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the past, the present, and the future. And we're going to be talking about how it changes every day. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by that is that our thought process is a window into our soul, right? And when we have this window into our soul, we're able to analyze specific information that changes the past. But there's more to this. There's layers to this. Talking about consciousness and higher states of consciousness and how we can actually affect and change parts of our past. Also, it has a lot to do with perception and perspective. We're going to get into that tonight. Tonight, we're going to have just a conversation. No presentation tonight. We're going to go into a little bit of a one-on-one talk, all of us. And before we get to that, please, please, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment after the live stream is finished. That helps our channel immensely. Also, we have super chats open and super thanks. All of those proceeds go right back into the program so that we can get behind paywalls, get specific information that's not always available for free on the internet. And also, this Sunday, we have our second workshop. This is the Tone and Frequency Healing Workshop. Do you want to be a healer? We're giving crash courses in all different modalities of becoming a healer. Also, we're going to be discussing how these tones and frequencies affect your physical, your mental, and your consciousness or spiritual. And we're also going to show you how it basically creates an alignment between the three. When you have that alignment is when you're able to achieve higher states of consciousness on demand. This is why we're going through this right now, and this is why we're doing all of this. We're in this precipice right now where there are a lot of things coming at you each and every day. To have this information available to you and with a downloadable packet that you'll be able to take from that, you know, we're going to give you the ability to create these states of consciousness and these spaces where you can achieve the optimal projection or the optimal, the optimal space to really get to that next level on demand. And that's really what it comes down to. This is how I am able to interact with the ancestors using certain tones and frequencies to put me into specific meditative states, right? So in the description of this chat is the link to the Eventbrite ticket sales. Once you get the ticket sales, you'll be sent the link that it's going to be at, and you'll also receive a downloadable package 24 hours or about 24 hours before we go into it. So, if you use the promo code Forever Student, there's 10% off. Each ticket is only $25. And again, all of that proceed goes back into the broadcast and gets us set up for the next one. One of the things we're going to be hopefully doing soon is bringing somebody with sound bowls on. We're going to go through meditations with each other. And I see we've got so many people here in the chat. Jay Rocco, Karen. Great. I'm glad you were able to make it. Art of Ray, John D, Andromedan, Gray Noise, Jesper, DL is here, Line is here, Susan is here, Sparkles, Jason, Charles, and the Andromedan. We are all here tonight for the same purpose, the same goal, and that is to expand our awareness. And this is what we talk about, right? So tonight we're going to talk, I'm going to do a little bit of a freestyle episode. What do I mean by that? I mean that I'm going to really just kind of, go into my thoughts on timelines and essentially how we react in the past and we react in the present, we react in the future. So first we have to talk about the higher self, right? So the higher self is a link. This is a specific portion of your higher consciousness that is etherical in nature, and this is your connection to we're in this living space right now in this reality inside of your meat suit or your body, right? This is a fractal of the all-encompassing soul or consciousness that we are. So this specific soul that we have, this piece that's inside of us, that is our consciousness, is yet a piece of a greater whole. The higher self is the culmination of that greater whole. So the higher self gives us the availability of connecting to alternate realities, alternate states of consciousness in the sense of interdimensional or interdensity communication. We are in all densities, we are in all realities. Some of us, of course, are not living in some of the other realities, but your essence is still in that specific earth and that specific reality. So when we look at time, people think of time as a linear thing: past, present, future. There is no interaction between the two. A lot of this community and myself believe that time is a little bit more, as they would say on Doctor Who, a little more timey-wimey. It's a little more fluid, right? There's a little bit more regulatory spaces that stand in that linear projection of time. But there's a lot of like the higher self is a space where this isn't really so much the same. It doesn't work like that. So one time I was talking to somebody and I forget exactly who it was, but they posed a question and they said, "Did you ever get a gut feeling?" And I said, yeah, of course I've gotten a gut feeling where something isn't, you know, something doesn't feel right or something is about to happen and you kind of know it, right? Your intuition is on like hyper mode and you're like, oh, I can feel something's coming. This could potentially be your future self sending signals back to the past. Now, of course, this isn't confirmed by science or anything like that, but during meditations, I've seen something like this happen. So, what if that, let's say, regret or anguish from those past things are what's sending that back, right? And if we look at it, you've gotten some sort of notification before this event, then you're going to go back and think about the event, and that's your future self sending that regret or anguish to give you that initiated feeling. Now, when we remain in the present, most people, they want to know about what's to come and not really evaluate the past. But when you evaluate the past, you're able to see it through different perspective goggles. And when you look at it through different perspective goggles, then it changes, especially for people who have been through trauma. Sometimes things happen in our lives and really bad things. But it's like the old saying, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up. Now, a lot of us, when we get back up, to look back into those areas is painful, but there's things to be learned, whether it's from you or somebody else. There's reasons. I don't want to say that that trauma has happened to you, but there's things that we can take away. And if we change our perspective and looking at it, thinking along the lines of, our consciousness came to this plane of existence and nothing is coincidental, right? Everything is sort of predestined, or there's this element of free will that comes in the higher echelons of consciousness. But, you know, were we meant to experience something like that so that we could be who we are right now? And if we never experienced something like that, would we be who we are right now? Right? That's a very valid question. It's a very ominous question. It truly is, because the only way we would know that is if it did and didn't happen, and we could look at those two timelines progressing differently. But we can, because reality is not so cut and dry. We can see essences of ourself from other realities that may have been brought to the same precipice of situation and took a different path out, and see what they're all about. This is why connecting to the multidimensional self and creating this alignment between everything that is, was, and will be is so important, right? So, another thing I was looking at too, and this is just me, is I was trying to focus on my progression, right? This show is literally a timeline documented of my progression. When I first started the show, we would talk about MUFON and sort of get into like what Space Force was doing and what they're doing at CERN and sort of like really relative topics to that time and space. And this was me sort of yearning for that deeper understanding of things that were yet unknown to me. But I didn't know of my full potential at that time. And as you go through the video starting from number 1 to about number 50, you see this radical change in me where my thirst for information and information that is of a more spiritual nature and more contact based in the telepathic communications of these entities, you can see that there is this moment in time where I start to progress towards the yearning for that spiritual information. My consciousness is reaching out into the ether to bring people to the show to sort of kind of get this information that I'm looking for. And then when you go from about 50 to 100, about number like probably another 50 episodes, you see an even more radical change in me. And this is so fascinating to me that we can see this. I can literally document it while we're going through it. And it's pretty wild, right? It's pretty wild. And when this is happening, you can see my demeanors change. You can see the questions that I ask the guests change, and you can see the information. And one of the things that I did on this channel that was drastic for me was I stopped having guests on. If you knew me from the very beginning, I was a talking head. And while I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I love having guests on to pick their brain about things, I never ever gave my own thoughts on anything. And it was Jerome Calver who told me that I needed to put more of myself into the broadcast. And that's sort of where we started to really, garner subscribers and really get into this where we are right now is me figuring out that I don't need to have a guest on to have a show. I can research topics, we can talk about things. I can be the person bringing the information. I don't need so-called experts to do that. And now this has changed myself in so many different ways. And it's again is this yearning and this thirst for knowledge. So now I myself am going out and looking at all of these different topics. And one of the things that really set us into this next phase of this specific incarnation of the show was the Galactic Beginnings series. I felt like I had to go through all that was before this planet was even a planet and before humanity was even a thing and transverse that information. And I felt like it was a good place to start because who doesn't want to be a galactic historian, right? So when I go back now and I look at those first 50 episodes, this is me looking at my past, but I'm directly effectively changing my past because the way that I look at it is different than if I was to look at it, let's say 5 days ago, 6 days ago. Each day is a chance to change the past, the present, and the future. Because when we go back and we change the past, and there's different ways, like I said, there's perception based, where we can look at it and say, you know what, I'm going to look at it from a positive standpoint instead of a negative standpoint. Okay. I'm going to send signals to my higher self to tell myself back then to change things or to do something different, which then in turn affects your now. And when it affects your now, it changes your trajectory for the future. Now, the future is a big point too, because we always talk about wanting to dictate the terms of our future. What does that truly mean? It means that by understanding where we came from, but also knowing what we know in this moment, how can we create the best possible outcome for ourselves, for humanity? It's a 10-foot view, a 50-foot view, and a 50,000-foot view. And this is what we work on religiously on this channel is understanding who and what we are, understanding how we work, right? And understanding what the energy around us does so that we can use it or harness it to create. And creating gives us this ability to, it's limitless, right? Energy is limitless. And if we understand ourselves, we are in total control. We've got a lot of good comments here, and I'm going to come into the comments in a moment too, because I really, really think that we're one of the more interactive platforms, and I love that. I love that. I think that you guys, I this is one of the things I always love too, is listening and looking at the chat, because you guys come with such great informational points that make my mind go in tailspins. I could be on like the most serious topic, but when I start to like read the chat, I'm like, oh man, that's right. Like, so these all these shows that are conversations start somewhere, but I'm sure we're going to end somewhere else. And let's see what Jay Rocco is saying here, because this looks right on point. If we are honest, we know we have all changed lots since the starting of our searching. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love about doing these shows. What's going on, Todd? Great to see you. Is that I can literally like stat track it and analytically look at it, because I'm an analytics guy. I love analytics. And I can see the difference. I can see the change just in my demeanor, my spiritual essence, in my spiritual prowess, everything. Everything is just so wildly different. And the fact that I have to go even further is like, that's what really does it for me. Sparkle Light says, I want to work to know and claim my sovereignty, not through anyone else, but walk beside all of you through this process. That is the sentiment that we hope that this message conveys and this show conveys. You've summed it up more beautifully than I could. And I think that that is absolutely imperative that we all walk shoulder to shoulder into this sunset, right? Into this new day, into this new future, maybe into this sunrise is a better way to put it. But there's so many things that we have yet to explore, and we're really on the precipice here. I try and make this a show that is somewhat versed in what we know of the scientific and not the scientific, but also in creating these spaces where we're able to literally throw a topic around and to talk about every aspect of it, no matter how fantastical or no matter how far fetched it may seem. And I think that that gives us the true boating, uh, it gives us the ability to have a more robust understanding of it, because we've explored it, and we honor what it truly is trying to say to us, and we look for the good in everything. So, you know, I I've had a lot of intuition in my life as well. And what does that mean? A lot of gut feelings, or dreams that sort of come true later on, or deja vu. And looking at this, I have to ask myself, is this some version of me either confirming, giving warning, or helping me to settle into this timeline? And I think we've kind of grabbed those reins. And I every time I get deja vu now, I stop and I think. And I think, have I been here before? Do I know this? Did I see this somewhere? And if so, why am I feeling like this? You know? And I think that there is a lot of everybody in this community is getting that more and more. It's happening more frequently. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason, because we're all becoming our multi-dimensional selves, right? And again, because we're becoming multidimensional, the other fractals of our soul are telling us this information, and maybe in not so forthright manner, but coming through our higher self. I like to think of our higher self as the operator, right? You pick up the phone back in the old days and you'd call the operator and you say, give me the phone number to source, right? So all of those telephones on all of those different realities are calling up the operator, and the operator is your higher self. And then your higher self connects you to the source, right? And that gives you a state of free flowing energy from source. And I do think that there is a lot of timelines that converged as well, Karen. I think that that is part of it, right? And the converging of timelines is where we start to see these Mandela effects happen too. When these Mandela effects happen, I truly think that it's two timelines coming so close that there's either bleed through or they're converging on a path. And then you can either go one way or the other. And these are like the shift moments, those moments where you're going to feel a shift happening. It's like a railroad track. You can hit the button and head in a different timeline. So the people who we're here with right now in 10 years' time, they may be on a separate timeline from us. They could still be interacting with us or a fractal of us, but it could be an alternate timeline. They've gone in a different way. And I think that the universe is networked like that. I really think it is. I think that there's abilities and portals and times where we can switch that train track, boop, and go right off into a different timeline altogether. Things happen, events happen, right? So I want to challenge everybody too. I want to give you a challenge. I want you to later on tonight, when this is all said and done, right? I want you to go and think of something that happened to you, right? Could be something minimal, could be something major. And I want you to go and into like a meditative state. I want you to try and communicate a message to that past you, right? And then what are you going to do? Then you're going to wait 24 hours. Then you're going to meditate on that specific event again. And I want you to be a little bit of be a little bit open to it, right? See if there was something that you can put your finger on that would have been that signal, or that would have been able to, you would have been able to feel that change in it. And I promise you, and I promise you, you're going to feel something. You're going to see something, hear something, or remember something that is going to confirm that you've just done what you thought you did and was communicate with your past self. Now, the next day, you can only do one of these challenges, do them all, right? The next day, I want you to do that for the near future as well, right? Mister, good to see you. And I bet you in that moment, you will look back at that time and it will create some sort of feedback loop where you'll get deja vu, guaranteed. Because you're going to see it when you're meditating in the now, whatever that moment is, and it's going to come true. You're going to intentionally put it together. So make it a good moment. Don't make it a bad moment. Remember, our intentions are set into the atmosphere and given credence. They are given energy. And when we give our energy to them, they will happen. Right? And that's part of how this network of energy works. So it's crazy too, because this is what kind of gave me the idea of a show like this. At my job, we see a few people here and there coming in and out. And I saw some people that I knew I had seen them before. And this is sort of like it's sort of a story that goes with this, but it's not at the same time. And the last time I saw these people, they were more cognitively efficient, right? And now I felt like, I hate to say this, but I feel like they couldn't be dumber, right? And I saw this person probably 2 years ago, and they were not anything like that. They were smart as a whip, sharp as a tack, and then I see them again, and something is happening to them. Something is dumbing them down. And I hate to say that because I'm not trying to be that guy, right? I'm not trying to be that person. But something is affecting the reality. that is making people who are either above status quo intellectually or above status quo spiritually to be knocked back a couple pegs. And I think it has a lot to do with the mind control and the brainwashing, things like that. But it it was wild to see the people who could have recited to you an entire book now had trouble just talking. And Todd, I thought the same thing, but they didn't have it. Think of that. They didn't have it. Hmm. Hmm. What's causing that? They had nothing really in their life that was a tremendous event, right? Nothing in their life that was so incredulous that it disrupted everything that they knew. Just regular, right? And that's what made it wild. It was like they were living in a different reality than I was. And hearing them talk, especially about political stuff, I was like, how could you actually believe that? And when I asked them questions, it was like a circular argument. You couldn't make them realize what they were saying. And when they were saying it, it was like they wholeheartedly believed it, but it wasn't like it didn't make any sense what they were saying. And it's a wild thing what they've done to humanity. And I think that the people who are responsible for that should should be held accountable 100% because this person was a person that I mean, I look to him as an acquaintance, not so much a friend, but an acquaintance. But something had disrupted the brain of this person. And this is what we're doing here, right? We're trying to stay sharp and not let this outside stuff hinder our cognitive abilities that are centered around our consciousness and our spiritual affirmativeness, right? This is what we need to practice. And I'm practicing it every day because I don't want to be in that sort of mode of thought. And this is why I kind of came up with the past, the present, and the future. Let's explore how we can enhance the scenarios and situations of the past, the present, and the future. And let's not get caught in these mind control traps and these circular arguments. We have to distance ourselves from these peddlers of information who are essentially lying to people to create this state of capitulation, which is what is the truth, right? This is what's happening. I hate to say that, I know this for a fact, but we've brought evidence to bear on this. And there is so many people falling into like this susceptible nature, right? And just taking everything at somebody's word without doing anything themselves. And these are the people we have to reach out to more than now than ever because without them moving into this next phase is going to be that much more difficult with all of them on board waking up. That next phase becomes a tidal wave, not just an undertow. We're trying to create tidal wave tsunamis here to wash over humanity and shake these people out of whatever cognitive dissonance they have, right? And I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people about politics lately, and I know politics is a dirty game. Lots of corruption, real crazy. Not very good for the spiritually advanced because you see the ill intent and the malice that comes from these people. But to create change within the confines of this reality that we've set for ourselves, I want to know all of it. Even if it's even if it's the dirty game of politics, I want to know it through and through. I want my information to be on par because everything I do stems back to some sort of bill or politics. It's crazy. Like I can't just tell people about the galactic history without them getting it to politics, right? That's just the way that society is now, and I think a lot of that has to do with the polarization of the parties and seeing that, one is so bad, the other was so bad, but they're both wings of the same bird, right? One is just hiding their corruption a little bit better, and some are just out in the open being absolute Satanists that they are, right? So we have to understand how to resonate within our own timeline, right? And a lot of that has to do with us understanding how the energy works. And tones and frequencies can essentially help you get to that state, which is this aligned state. The mental, the physical, and the spiritual will align, and you will be just so much more better for it. I promise you. I promise you. That's why we're giving this tone and frequency workshop. And it's not just me giving information. We're going to play tones for you. We're going to see what everybody comes to as a consensus, what that tone did for you. We're going to explain what it's doing to you scientifically, what it's doing to you spiritually, what it's meant to be used for. There's healing modalities and tones that is bar none some of the best healing you'll ever have. Energy healing and quantum healing is great. Reality matrix healing is amazing, but sound healing, I promise you, I have things that I can't say here because of censorship that's going to be talked about on the event because it's offline, and it's going to blow your mind, right? Blow your mind. The healing modality that is tone and frequency healing. So, and there's a few tickets left, guys. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, trust me, it'll be worth your while, even just for the charts, the PDFs, and what we're going to talk about, right? Which you guys will get a full transcript of when you get that. So, one of the things that I'm trying to focus on is making everybody a healer because we need healers now more than ever. This gentleman that I was telling you about that is, it seemed was, you know, he seemed he was not the same person. He needs a healer. And I'll bet you anything that his auric field is shrouded with negative energy. And when we alleviate that negative energy, his brain will repair itself. This is what we're doing. Now, again, we're not talking about we're not talking about me healing them. If you were in the first workshop, you know that I lend you the energy and you heal yourself. That's how this works. No person that you've ever talked to can literally just hear you, right? Oh, are we still live, guys? Are we still live here? It says, did the stream end? Huh. I'm wondering, huh? Is the stream end? Are we still live? Okay. All right. I thought we were it was acting kind of funny. I went to the YouTube to see if we were still on here. And it says we're still alive, so we're good. We're good. Okay. All right. People got me all nervous over here. I was like, I didn't even say anything that bad this time. Jesus. So this is what I mean by like having to walk in and out of censorship is difficult. Difficult. I've got to watch what I say at all times. And this is what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna start doing some shows not on the channels, right? We're gonna send out links in the community posts. So keep your eyes posted to it. And we're going to do it offline in a sense. It'll be online. It'll be straight streaming, but it won't be on a platform anywhere. It'll be inherent for the people who are wanting to join, right? But it'll be there for people to watch as well. And I'm not the channel I'm on is Full Spectrum Universe. That's what I mean by channel, my YouTube channel. Sorry. So this is just something that has to be said. If somebody tells you that they are healing you, that's wrong. I'm sorry, but that's wrong. What happens is you facilitate those people healing themselves. You lend them your energy to heal themselves. I believe that we have superpowers and are oblivious to the abilities because, yes, very much so. Read this comment because it's absolutely true. Our potential is of the utmost galactic dimensional prowess. We have no idea what we are truly capable of, which is why we explore all of those ancient pasts, all of those futures, all of those potentials, because our abilities are infinite. We are, and this is what I want to say to people too. We are the center of this universe because all of the extraterrestrial races that reside within this universe have supplemented genetic material onto this planet. Because of that fact, we have been imbued innately with every different type of energy that this specific universe has to offer. Because of our ability to interact with that energy, our potential is the potential of all of those extraterrestrial races combined, which is almost, if not, there is one above all, which is God the Creator. But we are second to none to Him, right? And we have so many abilities. It's hard to catalog them all. I mean, I've heard of clear sentience, clear cognizant. There's a clairvoyant where you can talk to technology. I'm telling you, computers. You could talk to like computers. There's I've seen people communicate with animals. I've seen people predict the future. I've seen people manifest the future. I've seen people levitate. I've seen people meditate to a point where they were literally no longer themselves. I'm telling you, there is something that everybody is innately gifted in, and they can excel in that area. But it's up to you to find it. Nobody else is going to be able to tell you what that is. So, but yes, we all have abilities, and our job is to search, pull, prod, poke until we can find the components that we need to use to help those around us. Because everybody's ability is not just an ability to you, it's an ability that can be helped or given to others, right? Some people who expend a lot of energy ask for compensation. I understand that. Some abilities should not be made for monetization, right? And but some are, and I think there's a lot of people out there with good intentions, and they think themselves like coaches or life coaches, and I think that some of it is worth it, but some of it is not. It's like a 30 worth it, 70 not, right? And that's one of the reasons why I've never gone into like the life coaching or, you know, that kind of avenue. I think that there's a lot more to be done with paid events like workshops or paid events like courses or classes, crash courses and stuff. But I try and do as much as I can for free because I feel like the universe has taken care of me and given me this platform to speak. So I need to take care of it by giving it nourishment with information. And most of that information is done free of charge, right? Sometimes there's ads involved, but that only helps fund what we're doing here so we can figure things out and get a little bit of revenue back into what we're doing so that we can explore new avenues of connecting with people. One thing I can say is that by the end or by the middle of next month, the website will be up, running, and ready to go. How the capacity of which will be accessible right away, I'm not sure. We're working at kinks with certain things, but the website is coming. And when the website is coming, all will be a one stop shop for everything. One of the things I want to do is I want to give access to my database, but I believe that I will have to put that behind a paywall because the access is going to cost me money to put up, so it'll fund itself. But it will be absolutely I mean, I've got terabytes full of information. Some of which I can put up on YouTube, some of which I can't, right? So there's a lot. But we're also working on something as like an application as well, and that's going to be to connect. We'll want to connect everybody. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So we're not following the transhumanist agenda. We're taking some of the ideas which they're trying to use, and we're trying to keep them in the hands of people who are not going to be nefarious, right? So it's going to be just about connection and really bringing the community together a little bit more. And this community is growing. You know, we're back on the upward swing when it comes to subscriptions on YouTube as well. So whatever y'all been doing with sharing out and leaving comments and you know, did I do the you mean the readings yet? No, we haven't started that yet. And I'll tell you why. There's a lot of energy involved in that Akashic reading. And right before I was about to start, I got that's when I kind of came in contact with the ancestors, and so I've been trying to incorporate a little bit of that into these Akashic readings. So I have not started. I have everybody's email still that asked me for an Akashic reading, and we're going to go through it. I promise you. It just takes me a little while to get to things too, with the 9 to 5 and doing this and stuff like that. We're going to try and do 2 or 3 a week until we've completed the list. And again, the first one is on the house. I promise you. First one is free. You shouldn't need me after the first one. If we have to go back, there will be a charge for the second, third, and fourth reading. Some people just feel more comfortable with me doing it or me guiding them to it because it's actually something that takes a lot of energy. A lot of people don't like to, expend that much energy. I will do it at your behest. So we're going to get to that. It's going to be a lot of fun too because there's going to be a lot of stuff on it you're going to find out. You may know, you may not know. And there's a lot going on in the community right now. So I also want to tell people, and this is not to point fingers at anybody, right? There's a lot of drama in the community right now. Who's mad at who's calling who out, who's doing what, who's doing this, which person is not saying something proper, all that stuff. Let it go. Let it go. If somebody becomes toxic or somebody becomes filled with drama that you're no longer getting a real deal experience out of it, let it go. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because then their drama becomes your drama. And what does that do? Negativity breeds negativity. So we have to understand that by doing this for people, it's not going to help, right? It's not going to help people. So, all right. With all that being said, I know Omar just started, I believe, with Augie. I didn't realize he was going at the 45 mark. I thought he was going at the 9 o'clock mark, but we'll drop this out. And so everybody can go over to Watchers Talk and watch him and Augie and do their workshop. But again, don't don't subscribe to the drama. It's not helping anybody, right? And some of these people are going to tell you it's righteous. You're doing it for righteous reasons. It's not. It's not. What's righteous is you projecting your message and sticking to that message. Going around and saying things to other people about what they're doing, it's just a burden. Just a burden now, right? So, with all that being said, my name is Rob Yox. This has been Full Spectrum Universe. I hope that you have an amazing present right? I hope that you are dictating the terms of your future. And I hope that we're exploring our past to understand who and what we are. The link for the workshop is in the description. I'm going to put it into the chat right now so that everybody can go ahead and if it's what you want to purchase a ticket. Don't forget forever student, one word, right? Saves you 10% on the sale price, which is $25. So I hope to see you all there. I love you all from the bottom of my heart, and I want to see you all back here real soon. And we'll talk to you next time. Have a great evening.